Okay, good day everyone, and we're going to discuss about the communication in organizational behavior. So first, we need to identify what is the definition of communication in terms of the OB. So when we are talking about the communication, this is the imparting of or interchange of thoughts, opinion, or information by speech, writing, or signs. So something imparted or interchanged or transmitted. So another definition for the communication, this is a document or message imparting news, views, information, and etc. So it means in any act by which one person give or receive from another person or information about that person needs, desires, perception, knowledge, or affective states. So communication may be international or it may be intentional or unintentional, may involve conventional or unconventional signals, may take linguistic or non-linguistic forms, or may occur through spoken or other modes. So, ibig sabihin, this is the communication between two or more people or the people within the organization, or this is the interaction of one or more people within the organization. So, ibig sabihin, once the employee or the top management are giving information, so that is the one way on how to communicate with each other. So, what is organizational communication and how it is different from usual communication? So, meron kasi tayong a different way on how to communicate with other people and how can we communicate with other people within the organization. So when we are talking about the organizational communication, this is the process by which activities of an organization are collected and coordinated to reach the goals of both individuals and the organization. So in simple terms, it is the information flow that happens in an organization, but the flow of information has got a structure or direction and processes. So ibig sabihin, systematic yung nagiging communication within the organization. Kasi once we are communicating with each other, we are dealing with the objectives, with the goals of the organization. So ibig sabihin, that is parang professional communication within the organization. So, what kind of information flow in an organization? And information flow happens between whom? So, in terms of the types of business communication, so we can consider different types of communication. It can be an internal communication or external communication. So, in internal communication, this is the communication that takes place within the organization. So, in addition, the usual face-to-face or telephone, fax, or mail or modern organization may use technology to communicate internally. So, technology may be used for emails or link internal communication. So, dito kasi is within the organization. You are communicating with the employee, co-employee, the management, or within the organization, or we are dealing only within the organization. So when we are talking about the external communication, so communication between the organization and those outside the organization. So the communicate with other businesses can through telephone, fax, or internet, or etc. So kadalasan dito is wala siyang face to face, no? So, ibig sabihin, it depends upon the situation. So, kapag kasi nagkakaroon ng meetings or urgent meeting with the other client or the supplier within the organization, so, ibig sabihin, we are dealing outside of the organization. So, kadalasan kasi, sa ngayon, ang communication mode ng mga organization ngayon, kapag sila ay merong outside of the organization, so yung tinatawag nating external communication, they are just using the different technologies, yung mga telephone, fax, or internet. They are easily to communicate by giving the telefax number. At the same time, they need to submit some letters or documents. So, using the different mode of technology, like yung mga internet natin. So, the differences between the external communication and the internal communication. So, ibig sabihin, sa external natin, they are using letters, fax, direct mail, internet, video, telephones, advertising, or websites. Within the internal communication, so, eto yung, mas madali kasi yung communication dito eh. You can easily give feedback or you can easily give opinion. So, we have the team briefing, notices, reports, memos, face-to-face, and email. So, in the terms of the different yung tinatawag natin characteristic or how can we identify the communication between the organization, it's either the internal or external. So, there are different factors to be considered in the organizational communication. So, we have the influencers, so we have the potential employees, so we have the employees, we have the competitors, partners, press or analysts, we have the prospects, we have the customers, and we have the investors. So, ibig sabihin, those peoples are the factors that may considered in affecting the communication within the organization. So, the communication looks fairly simple. So, if you will notice, no, within the different factors that consider the communications, so around the organizations, so they can easily give information or they can easily communicate within the organization in any aspect. So, there are times na pwedeng si press analyst nakakapag-usap kay prospect, si customer nakakapagbigay din. Within outside of the organization, ay pwede silang they have the mode of different communication. At the same time, within the organization, lahat ng tao na yon is meron din namang say or meron silang mga details na naibibigay within the organization. So, anyway, pagka tinignan natin yung mismong diagram, no, pwedeng si potential employees can communicate with the customer, prospect, analyst, kahit kanino, no. Pero ang one of giving communication is within the organization. So, now, how complicated does it looks, no? Titingnan natin. So, the communication process. So, paano ba nagkakaroon ng flow within the organization? So, if you will notice, based on the Venn diagram, no? So, we have the horizon of the experience sender and we have the horizon experience of the receiver. So, in terms of the sender, thoughts, feelings, encoding, decoding. Iyan ang kanyang mismong role. Pagka sa receiver, decoding, thoughts, feelings, and encoding. So, almost the same with the sender and the receiver. So, ibig sabihin, yung mismong point of communication ni sender tsaka ni receiver is the message transmission. At the same time, the feedback. No? So, if you will notice, yung flow niya ay decoding si sender, iikot ng flow niya papunta kay receiver. No, once na nagkaroon siya ng thought of feelings, i-encode niya, then itatransmit niya kay receiver. Si receiver naman is decode niya, magkakaroon siya thought of feelings, tapos encode, then feedback, then decoding again to the sender. So that will be the flow of the communication within the organization. So ibig sabihin, meron siyang process. So the types of communication within the organization can be considered as the formal communication and the informal communication. So kapag formal communication, so ibig sabihin we have the chain of command. So ibig sabihin, meron tayong direction. So from the top management to the employees, merong series or meron tayong respect of the decision making or pagbibigay ng information. We have the written word, so written documents na ginagawa natin. At the same time, pagdating naman sa mga signatories is well communicated talaga. Hindi pwedeng pipirma agad si president na without the signatories of the proper hierarchy of the positioning. So we have the representative system. So ibig sabihin, merong person in charge, no, to paano ba yung proper communication within the formal communication. So when we are talking about the informal communication, ito yung mga gossip, grapevine talks, chit-chats. So ito yung mga without written documents or yung mga nababanggit lang or without related, no? So ibig sabihin, pwede itong face-to-face, kaya lang this is not talk about the direct work of the organization. So the structure of the mode, no, of the organization communication, it can be horizontal or lateral communication. So ibig sabihin, the exchanges between among agencies and horizontal communication aims. So it can be a interpersonal or departmental o yung tinatawag nating task coordination. So ibig sabihin, they are really connected with each other within the department of the organization. We have the problem solving. So this is the discussion and the brainstorming. So ibig sabihin, within a group, you are giving an opinion. So ibig sabihin, you have giving your collaboration with each other. So ibig sabihin, each of the members of the organization are giving information or nagkakaroon sila ng ideas or sharing of their ideas. So information sharing, interpersonal and departmental, no? So we have the conflict resolution. So it can be also an internal, personal or departmental. So we have the vertical communication. So it can be an upward communication or it can be downward communication. So sa term na to, no, pwedeng yung flow of process of communication, it's either na mag-start from for example, the hierarchy of the management from the top onto the employees. It can be nag-start with the top management. So ibig sabihin, kapag kasi nag-start from the top management, ibig sabihin they are giving or implementing of the different policies, they are giving memos. So ayan siya. So pagka nag-start siya from downward, no, pwedeng downward naman siya mag-start from the employees. So ibig sabihin, they are giving feedback or possible they are giving some concern directly to the top management. So ayan siya. So we have diagonal communication. So it can be from the top or the higher. It depends upon the flow of the communication. So the upward communication is the process whereby the ideas, feelings, and perception of the lower employee are communicated to those higher levels in the organization. So ang function na to provides management with needed information for decision making. It helps employees relieve the pressure and frustration of the work situation. It enhances employees' sense of participation in the enterprise. And it serves as a measure of effectiveness and downward communication. So, yan siya. So, we have the downward communication. Such communication is initiated by the organization's upper management and the filters downward through the chain of command. So, ibig sabihin, kumbaga pag nagbigay ng communication is may process or merong pinagpapasahan bago makarating sa'yo. So, those people are limited as to the amount of information they can effectively absorb and react to. So therefore, the management must necessity restrict that it is communicates to subordinates. Organization implies some restriction of communication. Without restriction on communication or any organizational member could be buried under the enhanced or under the incoming messages from all other members. So, kapag naman siya ay diagonal communication, so this occurs when communication occurs between workers in a different section of the organization where one worker is on the higher level. So, ibig sabihin, within the department, so hindi siya involved on the top management. You are dealing with the same employee. For example, in one department, no? Nasa isang process kayo. So, kaya lang, meron din dong positioning. Kaya lang, same department lang kayo. For example, the diagonal communication will occur when a department manager converses with an employee in another department. So, doon nagkakaroon ng communication, department by department. It allows cross-communication between departments. So, if you will notice the diagram, so we have the organizational chart, no? We have the manager, we have the assistant manager for finance, for marketing and production. Under the marketing, we have department A, B, and C, and we have under the department B, we have the supervisor. If you will notice, so yung tinatawag nating diagonal, no? Yung ano ba to? Sorry. Yung tinatawag nating diagonal is pwedeng nag-uusap-usap si department A, B, and C. Na diagonal siya. So, ibig sabihin, within the department. For example, sa department B, maraming mga supervisor doon. At the same time, pwede makipag-directly kausap doon kay department C. Kapag sinabi nating upward, so you start from the supervisor hanggang pataas, no, from department B, makakausap si finance, marketing, production, hanggang makarating doon kay manager. So, kapag naman siya ay downward, so ibig sabihin, nag-start siya from the manager hanggang makarating kay supervisor. So, we have the importance and advantages of communication in an organization. So, it helps the individuals to understand and pursue organization objectives, cover every management function, organizational culture depends on communication, improve both organization and individual performance, better the communication or better the performance. Yan. So, we have the modern era or boundaryless organization. So, organization in which there are no barriers to information flow, ideas, and information move to where they are most needed. So, in this modern era, people have the facility to work in their home and report in their supervisors. There are employees who reported to the superiors in another country. So, this is the concept promoted and implemented by the General Electric or Jack Welch. So, kung mapapansin nyo, sa panahon ngayon, di ba, due to the pandemic, so this is the application of the modern era, boundaryless organization. So, ibig sabihin, you are working or work from home, you are doing your duties and responsibilities as a worker of the organization. At the same time, you are just giving a report, no, what's happening on your job. At the same time, you are creating or sending communication through emails. So, doon ka lang nagsasend ng mga reports within the organization. So, designing the communication mechanism for the organization. So, an organization can be structured in different ways depending on their objectives. So, the structure of the organization will determine the ways in which it operates or communicates. So, communication in an organization also depends on the leadership style. So, depende on how they implemented the rules and regulations or how they implemented or how they communicate with each other. So, we have the classical organization supported by information flow only through the chain of command, but this leads to missing of information during the flow. So, minsan kasi kapag chain of command or classical organization ang ginagamit natin, no, yung pasalin-salin, kumbaga yung thought nung mismong message natin is hindi nakukuha, kaya minsan is nagkakaroon ng misinterpretation or some important details of the information are missing. So, there are organizations in which every official communication should be in written form, especially in bureaucratic setup. So, organizations should keep a track of communication between employees. So, kailangan may monitoring pa rin. So, one single method of communication process may not work well for an organization. So, it will be better to have a communication process which is structured or vertically along to horizontal communication. So, the system should be flexible wherein decisions are to made be fast, or when the organization is facing the problem, that is diagonal and bypass communication should be allowed in important situation. So you will encounter dito kapag nagkakaroon ng ganun, you can easily identify what kind of communication it is. As proposed by Jack Welch, information should flow to where it is needed and not unnecessary designations. So the communication helping growth of the organization. So we have conservative and structured. So dito, the communication process should be vertical for a conservative and structured organization. So horizontal communication can be allowed also for better coordination between different departments. Pero pagka conservative kasi ang ginagamit nating structure is the vertical. So it can be downward or upward, no? Pero ina-encourage din yung ating horizontal, kaya lang within by department by giving information through the vertical communication. So relation of an organization with the customer is very important, so that the employee should be properly trained for the process, better communication, better performance of the company. Well trained ang employees mo, sabi nga 'di ba sa quality management, the main role or the main reason para malamang mong yung employees mo is talagang well communicated is na-train siya ng husto. Better communication helps in a better interpersonal relationship, less conflict, better understanding, solving problems, and help discussions, which can lead to new ideas which will help the organization grow better. So number 2 is multinational company. So ito yung mga multi-company that employees might have to report to their superior. So who might or nag-start siya from the different countries or merong mga higher position involved. So there will be a cultural differences across the different units and subsidiaries of the same organization in different countries. So horizontal communication should be allowed between the units of the organization in different countries to keep track on the work and its progress. Ito yung mga masyadong malalaking company. For example, the San Miguel Corporation. So, meron siya mga subsidiaries. So, ibig sabihin, ang ginagawa nila is gumagamit sila ng horizontal communication basis. For their, parang mas madali yung communication way na. Sa sobrang laki kasi ng company, they cannot easily directed to the vertical or to the top management. So, minsan is easily solve problem by the using of the horizontal communication. Employees must be trained properly and communicate, keeping in mind in the cultural differences in different countries. So that can be considered. The information should be allowed to reach where it is necessary. So due to the fact that there is no single communication mechanism that is best fit in managing large and complex organization, a number of communication mechanisms are put in practice so that the MNC can efficiently communication, yung mismong manner of communication, no, is kumbaga maging maayos. So that's it. So that will be the discussion for the organizational behavior communication.